Hello and welcome to another live stream edition of the John Keim Report. Do me a favor, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I'll have a story up. I think it's coming out Wednesday, just kind of looking at the turnaround of this franchise. You may have heard it wasn't going well before this year, Bram, and now it is. How about that? And so there you go. You can find that on ESPN.com. For you Gold members, we'll be doing a private Zoom Thursday night this week, getting ready for the game on Saturday. So Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern time. You Gold members, if you want to become a Gold member and join these private chats, they're a lot of fun. Go to the Ampire Media YouTube page, see the word join, go from there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's get to the good stuff. I'm joined by my pal and the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein, who's had a hell of a year himself. I think, Bram, like you're getting to be more famous than some of these players.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. This is the surefire winning changes everything for everybody. And we've been getting a lot of attention for our calls, and it's because of what they're doing on the field and the way they're doing it. I mean, it's just been, every game comes down to the last play. It's all been unbelievably exciting. It just, it's been amazing.
Can you think? I mean, you're a fan. You grew up a fan of this area.
Yeah.
I've covered this team for 30 years. Can you think what season for you would match this?
Nothing. There's nothing like this. I could go back to I don't have like the Andy Pollin memory of like the seasons when I was a kid. Like he does. He can remember all that stuff. I can't remember them that way. I can only really remember like just kind of feelings about them. But none of those seasons were like this. You'd have to go back when I was a kid when it first started with Gibbs, where maybe like it was a little, I guess, unforeseen how it got started. But the ones like once we got to the mid 1980s, it became expected that they were going to be good. And so that's why I really don't think anything is like what's going on here right now. This is historic for sports, frankly. Like if this were to last 3 more games, this is a historic season for any franchise ever based on all of the different things that we've talked about. So I do feel like I'm part of a fairy tale or a movie, or for you, the great novel you've been waiting to write about this team, because this season is giving you that opportunity to write that story for sure.
Well, it's this season. It's what's preceded this season too. And I think that's the big thing, because we don't need to rehash the 24 years prior to this one, or 25 more, because like last year was a disaster and Dan Snyder was gone. But it's just really been, and even before that point, it wasn't great. It was kind of average. But I think it's the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years in particular leading into this one is why, like the beaten up of the hope promised by the arrival of RG3 in the 1 year that turned out to be a mirage. And then, you get Kirk Cousins gets going, and then he runs into a contract stalemate. And if you had any hope from there, that was gone too. And, Alex Smith comes here, they're 6-3 and he gets hurt. Scott McLuhan shows up. Or actually before this, and people celebrated that, and that was a mirage, right? So there's so many things that have happened going in, and then the last few years, all the investigation, the crap, the name change, all this and all that leads into this, and it's why to me this makes this such and I've said this before, but the sporting gods have looked out for this fan base by bestowing you. I was talking to somebody out at the park today, Bram. And we're just talking about how, it started with the ownership change, but ownership change doesn't guarantee. Like there were a couple people involved in this bidding. I'm like, if this other group gets it, I don't think it's going to be that great. It'll be different, but it wouldn't be that great. And, it doesn't guarantee that the change is going to be there. Look at like the Panthers are not better off after Jared Richardson, regardless of the reason he had to leave. You know what I'm saying? So like it's everything leading into this, and then hitting a home run on each of these selections from owner to quarterback.
It's like kind of like, again, this is now that it's gotten to this point, and I don't know what we're talking about, Saturday night. Like I'm open to believing anything. And honestly, like underestimate these guys at your own risk. I have not been a part of a team that has this kind of chemistry, will, desire, poise, like incredible level of poise. Like
Right.
I would say the other night was the first time that there was a little bit of, there were two fortunate breaks. I think they've made their breaks this year. I don't think they're lucky in any way.
Yeah.
I think that they've executed, they've been prepared, they're thorough, they're poised, they're together, all those things. But two things happened in their favor the other night. One was hitting a goalpost and it bouncing the right way. And the other was right on time, a turnover that they didn't cause. It was just a mistake. And they needed it. They needed it really badly to kind of flip back around, and then at the end, though, with the divine intervention, they did what they've been doing to everybody is they're stealing souls at the end of games. They're surgical in the way that they finish games. And obviously to Jayden Daniels has just been remarkable. And I was rewatching the game from the other day today, and I started writing down all the third down plays that he made, specifically in the first half, actually. That Terry catch, the one down the sideline, that was a third down play that he made that throw. Yeah. It was incredible. I mean, I got to get the list in front of me, but like one after another, it's just, he is so built at this level. Like I'm still kind of in shock by it. We are witnessing, if not the greatest season by any rookie quarterback ever, it is arguably one of the top 2 or 3. And I'm going to be hard pressed to name another one, honestly.
Well, I'm with you there. Now, beginning of the year, I would not fight back against that. But early in the year, like you compare to like where CJ Stroud was at that point in his tenure with Houston, it's like that was really, really good. I don't think we've seen this. Like I haven't seen this. And it's not just the numbers, it's the impact. And it's the impact on the field, off the field. But it's also the late drives, the 2-minute situations, the poise, it's everything. And, going back to the years that when I asked you if you've had a year like this, like covering the team, the only year that I would always tell people, well, the most fun year I had was 2012 because of the run they went on. But this is the only year I've ever had, Bram, where start to finish, it's been all football. It's been all football. Even in 1999. So 1999, they're 10-6. And there are probably a lot of people on here who don't remember that season. They're 10-6. But even there, like it started bad because they got drilled by Dallas. And that was a year where Dan Snyder's doing stuff, trying to fire Mike Nolan during the season. And you know what I mean? So like there was other stuff and it was just great. It was a good year. But even at the end of the year where Norv was telling people he wanted to resign after that year. So like that, you know what I mean? But this year it's everything. It's fresh. One of the things I like for my job is talking football. That's why I do this. Like you don't get into this to cover like, there's a negative story. People always think that you get into this because you like sports, you like football. And it's much more fun to cover a winning team, period. And any reporter will tell you that. Now you also like stories and all that, but I've always gone on these years, I'm like, I have this idea to do this. But it always is kind of based on them being good all year. And that's never happened until this year. So like, it's been enjoyable from a reporter's aspect that like, just to talk football after dealing with all the crap the last few years.
Yeah. For me, having grown up here and, for me, like wanting to do the job that I have with this team was really based on like you, I just love the sport. But, in my house, Redskins football was religion. Like we didn't miss a game. Like people gathered in our house. We watched every game. I'm wearing a Gary Clark jersey or something like that. I was very fortunate as a kid to have tickets to go to RFK and go see them play. And that was just an amazing venue, amazing crowd and all these things. But what I really loved about it, not only was just that I loved the sport, obviously, was I loved what it did in our community. It was everything. Like it's the heartbeat of the city. It's the pulse of the city. It changes the mood of the city when they're consistently good. And like when they won the Super Bowl, the school system shut down, not just one, all of them, the entire area, because nobody wanted to go to work. Nobody could send their kids to school. Everybody was collectively celebrating. And recently, like we got championships here with the Nationals and the Capitals, and those were amazing to be a part of. And I'm very fortunate to have some coverage of the Capitals Stanley Cup run when I was working for a short stint for Fox 5. They sent me to cover some of it. And I'm a huge hockey fan too, and I loved it. And I loved how many people showed up wearing red downtown. It kind of took over downtown, but with no disrespect to those organizations. And I loved that it happened because I love my teams. Like, it's nothing like when this team wins consistently. And I think I have kids now. I've like wanted to get them into football. My kids are in school. They're coming home beaming because kids in their school are wearing Commanders jerseys, talking about the team. It's becoming that again. People, like, my phone after these games is blowing up with texts. Just like every person I've ever met ever is sending me some kind of thing about it. And that's what I love about this. Like, the fans are so back in. Like, they're so back in. And that's what I love about what this team is to this community. And I think it's why I'm kind of losing it on the air doing it, because I know it's like years and years and years of waiting for this to come back. And it's just emotionally coming out of me. And then they happen to take every game down to the last play. So like there's the tension of the whole thing too.
Well, Brett, I actually wish you would show a little bit more emotion on those calls.
You all are finding out the real me. I'm actually finding about myself on these broadcasts, honestly.
But that's why I say, and going back to it, and someone, God bless this person, who's like, you guys aren't old enough to remember 1982 or 91. Well, yeah, I am.
Yeah,
you know,
I am.
And I wasn't. I mean, in 91, I was here. I was working as a reporter, but not covering the team. And what I remember about that year is how it galvanized the community. My point in this season is it's the close finishes. It's what happened before this year and like all the garbage that led into it. 91, it was a continuation of a decade for them. And it was an unbelievable year because of how dominant they were all year. But this year, it's all these magical finishes with a magical rookie quarterback with a first-year head coach and the first year of a regime that bestows the promise of what can lie ahead as well. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like, but it's how many times, like, it's 5 straight games with these late finishes, man, these last second finishes. This is unbelievable. That's why, like, and again, they may win the Super Bowl, whatever year it is, this year, next year, whenever. If they win it this year, it would be a hell of a story. If they win it in 2 years, you're still not going to have a regular season in this kind of run.
Time. It's all time if they do it this year, John. Like, it's
for sure. If they do it this year, this is a movie.
It's a movie, yes. And the stories that'll be written out of it will just be outrageous, because when you get, like, we've had a lot of access. I think this team's been very kind of open, transparent, all that stuff, you know, and they're the other thing I think I love about, especially when I talk to Quinn, this is a very thorough franchise. There is kind of no stone unturned. They always have an answer for the questions you ask. And they're very patient. They're thorough. They're transparent. They're all pulling on the rope the same way, which is why I just put nothing, I put nothing out of the reach for them, which is why, like, this is a tough setup. Like, they're playing a really, really good team, like a historic Lions team, one of the highest scoring teams ever. They have a bye. It's hard to get into this building, unlike Tampa Bay, because the ticket prices are outrageous to get into this thing. They're under full belief, and they have every reason to believe it. This is their year, and they've been waiting forever too. And so this is the all-time test. If the Commanders pass this one, I'm going to assume that they're going to win the Super Bowl, honestly.
Listen, and you're right. Like, it's it would be a very, very tough game. I am putting, I think you'd have to, like, clearly the Lions should be favored. But here's what I know. Like, their defense has struggled. And I'm like, for example, I was watching the Lions play the 49ers this morning, watching just for their offense. I like to go back and watch the offense, and I break it down more from there. But I'm like, oh my God, this offense, Detroit's offense, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this. And I kept looking at the score. I'm like, and they're trailing in the game because the Niners kept doing all that stuff too. And so I think a good offense against that defense, I think they will be okay. The question is, how much can they slow that offense? And, and do you have to stay away from the mistakes, et cetera. But they have a chance, and it's because of number 5. Like, you talk to anybody in that locker room, like, they can rattle off all the reasons why they have a chance, but it begins and ends with number 5. And when you have that guy, like, you can't tell me that Todd Bowles wasn't blanking his pants when Daniels has the ball late in the game because you know what he can do. He doesn't fold in there. Watch him after the game-winning kick. He sat there for a couple seconds with just a kind of a blank look on his face. By the way, I want to answer one question here about Jayden. So it was from JH. Is it just me, or did he seem slightly slow in his burst of speed this past game? Seemed at 80%. Anything lingering? No, there's nothing lingering. That was just a minor issue. And if he was at 80%, I think you'd see him limping more than he was running. I think there were just a couple times to me, Bram, where like one time Levante David had a good angle on him. I think Tampa was clearly ready for him to run, but I also thought he did a better job keeping his eyes upfield. And he got, listen, man, that 3rd down and 2, he didn't look 80%. So
no, I don't totally think that's a misguided viewpoint. I also did not see the.
So you thought it like, so where did you see? Because I'll be honest, and I'd have to go back and rewatch. I haven't had a chance to rewatch the game at all. So go ahead, tell me why you think that is.
He played out. He was outrageously good. I mean, he was great. But the spots where I saw it were when he ran to the sidelines, which he gets hit here and there. Yeah. He got tagged a couple of times. I think, his instincts are so incredible that when he does take a hit like that, I think he's maybe just a touch slower than I think he thinks he is in the moment. Okay. And so, like, I would just say, I don't think that that's a bad observation. Well, I think that's probably true. Yeah.
Okay. And all right. Then I think 80% would be a bit much though, because 80% is quite a big drop.
Yeah. This isn't like the rib thing where I think his arm and throwing motion was affected a little bit. And then of course he wasn't going to run as much as he did. I don't think look, I'm with you. I don't think it's anything particularly serious, but no. I did see a tick slower. And I agree with that observation.
Well, okay. And that's good. So the one time I saw it was the one time he had a corner where Levante David was there, but I thought he had a good angle and he's really good. But there were a couple other times where I wasn't sure. So that's fine. So there you go. I hope that helps. And then, but anyways, but the point is, I don't know if there's anything lingering necessarily from that. It could just also be, if there is anything, more of a wear and tear that's a natural byproduct of a season, but we'll see. So I think
this is a good point too. Andrew wrote this. Time of possession will be huge. I 100% agree with that.
Oh yeah.
The Bucs only had 7 drives in the game. Baker only threw 18 passes. Okay. Because if we can replicate that and finish our drives with TDs, watch out. I 100% agree with this. They've got to play keep away a little bit here. This is one of the best offenses and one of the most prolific offenses of this century. They are up there in scoring points like the Patriots of 2007, the 16-0 team. Yeah. They're plus 220 plus, like in point differential. There's only like 5 teams that have ever like scored this many points and had that kind of point differential. They've got to keep them on the sideline. And I think this is where those injuries, especially up front on Detroit, hopefully allows Washington to control the ball and have time of possession. One of the weirdest stats that I saw, and they've won games in so many odd ways, like almost mathematically impossible ways. But the one that really got me from the other day, I don't know if you saw this. They won time of possession 35 plus minutes to 24 plus minutes. That's a big advantage, right? Which I think was a big part of why they won the game. They ran the ball 33 times for 82 yards. So they had under 3 yards a carry, but 11 more minutes of possession time. That's crazy. Like, normally when you win time of possession like that, you run the ball really well. That's what keeps moving the chains, slow drives. That's not what was happening. They have found ways to win in a variety of patterns that are unusual to typical pathways to victory. And that's why I put nothing past them at all, ever.
I'm glad you brought up that stat, because I was going to say they had the ball for 35 minutes without running well.
Yes.
And Detroit's defense is banged up and there are holes there. And when you look at the teams they played now, they did a great job against Minnesota, but Minnesota did not finish well the last 2 games at all. So, but I'll give them, they did a good job against the Vikings in that last regular season game. But when you look at some other good offenses they faced, they challenged them. And I think this is a good offense, and I think they will challenge them. That's one of the things I like with Jayden, is that he's very patient and operates very efficiently. And so I think they can do that again. Like that's what but I agree. Like it's not, the thing is, it's not just time of possession, it's finishing drives.
Yeah.
And I think if you finish drives, now you have a chance. If you have an 8-minute drive and get a field goal, they can score in 3 plays and you're down 7-3. So you've got to finish drives with touchdowns. And I would encourage him, Dan Quinn, to continue being aggressive on 4th down in those situations, depending on how the game flow, et cetera. But, I think that's a good, I like that they did that. I love the mindset it creates. I like all of that. And they do very well.
Both of these teams are very aggressive. One of the things that worries me this weekend is these guys are kind of like the Chiefs. They play with their food a little bit and they come out with these whacked out plays. Yeah. And, like they've had 2 weeks. So, I'm expecting something weird to go down, obviously, because they do this. They fake a lot of punts. They have done hook and ladders with people. They'll throw to a tackle. Like they do a lot of different crazy stuff. So that's one thing. Secondarily, Goff is very, very good with the ball, especially in the playoffs. His numbers in the playoffs are outstanding. They're tough. This is the biggest test of the season. I know we played the Eagles twice. I know we played the Ravens. Cincinnati, I think that game looks a lot different now. That win after the way they closed their season, people were saying things about it at first because they were 0-3 at the time. Look how they closed, and everyone's disappointed they didn't make the playoffs. Looks like a different game now, doesn't it? So they stood up to very, very, very good opponents. They beat Philadelphia. They lost to one what I thought was a bad setup, but I think this is the biggest test for them this year, especially on that field, especially on a short week. Me and the rest of the team, everybody, we're all working on a little sleep already. We got to turn around and try to do this again. I do want to give our coaching staff credit. I thought they were outstanding on both sides of the ball. If they held the ball for 35 minutes without running it very well and knew they weren't going to be able to run it very well, give Cliff Kingsbury a lot of credit here for putting them in a position to figure out a way to hold on to the ball. And I thought Joe Witt Jr. was outstanding early against Tampa Bay. That's prolific offense. They're top 5 rush, pass, scoring, total offense. Only team in the league like that. And they had fooled Baker, especially on that second drive, to a point where he didn't know where to go with the ball. So I want to give the coaching staff some credit here too. I thought that they did a great, great job, which is always an incredible sign when you're in the playoffs, that you feel like the coaching staff's an advantage. So we'll find out this weekend too, because Ben Johnson's been outstanding, putting together the best offense in the league. And Dan Campbell, like Dan Quinn, kind of the heartbeat type guy, gets everybody riled up, is kind of the emotional, touch point of the whole thing. And also, like Quinn, very aggressive. So over under on 4th downs that these teams will go for collectively, I'm putting it 6.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, no, there are some similarities in that. And I think Campbell and Quinn, by the way, they share the same agent too. I think that's kind of funny, but they're similar in how they know how to set up an atmosphere in a building and create an atmosphere in a building. I think they really have excelled at, both of them have at that. And that's why when you look at possible head coaches, people look way too much like, oh, he's a great play caller, therefore hire him as a head coach. Give me a head coach. Give me a guy who's going to be a good leader. And that's what Quinn is. That's what Campbell is. And we don't know if Ben Johnson will be. And, we know that he didn't want to leave Detroit after last year. And we know what happened here. And, it's funny because I still hear a lot of mistruths about that situation. This team, there are people here who always liked Dan Quinn from the jump. And there are people here. This is why you had people like Bob Myers here and all that, because they know how to put together winning organizations. Anyways, so that said, but they both are, both Quinn and Campbell know how to do that. And so, I think, but to your point too, with the assistant coaches, I think Joe Witt's done a nice job. I don't think that's the most talented defense that he'll have here, but I think he's done a good job. And there's a reason why, one of the things I've always liked about him too is how his press conferences, I think he's really good. And he takes accountability, but he also, and I said this the other day too, I like that after the first game, somebody asked him, well, it's only your first game. He's like, it doesn't matter. You've got to play a certain way. You have a standard. You have to play that way. And when you hold the guys that standard, you eventually get there. So
Joe, I didn't know a lot about him before he got here. He has been very impressive, Joe Witt, and I understand why he's getting some interest around the league for head coaching positions, especially off of what's happening here. He is very impressive. I didn't know a lot about him. We all knew about Cliff to a certain degree, but like I didn't know about Joe Witt. He's very, very impressive. And just to go back, I want to reiterate one more thing about Quinn. What I've really learned about him is how thorough he is. Like two things. Yeah. Like he's the relationship stuff, it's real with him. He wants to have to have deep relationships with all the people. He believes in all these things he's saying. It's genuine. Every time we go on the road pregame, he is dapping it up and hugging somebody else from some other team. It's genuine. Like everyone really adores this guy, wants to play hard for him. I think he's fair and honest and open and transparent. And he's just extremely thorough. And we've been through a lot of coaches here. Some are, some aren't. He really is. Like, all these things they talk about, like, I don't believe it's an accident that they've been winning a lot of the ways they've been winning, because when they say they practice these things, they do. When they say they talk about these things, they do. They have people in place to help them manage these situations, because that's how robust the staff is around them. Like, they have the makings of a winning organization. What's missing, if we're just being honest, is probably a touch extra influx of literal talent on the field, but it is right there for the taking. And this team won't die. And if you give them a pulse, they will beat you. And that's why I just want to see a close game, because that place is going to be shook. If Jayden Daniels gets the ball in a one-score game in the fourth quarter, they're going to be scared, and they should be.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where I go back to Quinn. You know, people use the 2.0, referring, to Quinn, like it was never that. And I would laugh at that, because like, I know who I talked to during the search process and what people outside of here, people who have worked with him, people who played for him, people who didn't work for him, people who didn't get promoted by him, and how much they liked him and respected him as a coach. So I thought he was a really good hire. I thought the energy that he provided here was absolutely necessary. The other coaches would not have provided that jolt of energy. Like, for all the Ben Johnsonites, like, he might be a good head coach. I think Aaron Glenn might be a better head coach, because I've heard really good things about his leadership skills. And I don't know about either one of them. And it's a crapshoot. But, I think what you got here with Quinn was, again, the energy and setting up an infrastructure of the standards of a building. And that's one of the things that, like, Cliff Kingsbury, I wrote that story on him recently. And one of the things he talked about was how Quinn set the standard right away and how he was impressed by that. And he said, that's something I wish I had done in Arizona. And, because if you wait too long, then it's too late. And he felt like when he needed it in Arizona, it was too late. And when they needed it here, 3-game losing streak. What happened? They haven't lost since. So that's a lot. So while Daniels is a massive part of all this, you can't just have the quarterback and not have the other stuff and be good. You just can't. So like that's the thing. So I think, and it's no surprise, and just to finish the point too, it's no surprise that you're going to hear Kingsbury's name or Joe Witt's name attached to other jobs at some point. I don't know. I know, like, I think it was the Jets with Joe Witt. And I don't know where that will go, but I do know that he's going to open some eyes with the leadership stuff, and it might be, we'll see how it goes. Kingsbury, I'm not sold that he's going to leave at all, but and Lance Newmark is getting, had the interview with the Jets. Like, that's what happens when you win. But if you have the right people in Peters and Quinn and you trust them, then you can replace guys. But you want guys to leave because it means you're winning. I'm a Cleveland Indians / Guardians fan. They lose guys all the time, but yet they win because they always have the right people in charge making decisions. That's the key. And the quarterback.
Look at you touting the Guardians. Look at you.
It's a good organization. Why wouldn't I? I mean, but the point is, they lose guys and they still contend. Just out of
curiosity, remind me, when was their last championship?
What's the point of this? They're good every year. Like, that's no offense, but not one of your smarter comments. They win a lot, and they lose guys all the time to other teams. I'm sorry if I speak the truth. Like, You owe me a Boston
I
cream.
didn't know the Indians Guardians really pushed a button for you. Now I know.
It's not that. It's I don't like comments that aren't like that. That makes sense. They're a good organization. Really?
I'll go to the next parade with you when they win the World Series. Just let me know when that is.
Okay.
My grandpa remembers the last one.
They're in the playoffs like every year. Like I didn't say that, but they're like, that's a dumb comment. What are you doing?
That's true.
I mean, they're a good team. I mean, it's a good organization. Yeah, he is. I agree. He's being petty. That's two Boston.
All right, I'll drop it. I love them. They're great. I love them. They're great.
I'm sorry, but it's a good organization, and they lose guys to other teams. The whole point of it was, and this team hasn't done anything since '91. But yet, if they win this year, if they do anything this year, they may lose people because you want people from good organizations. That's what they're becoming. That was the whole point of it. So, anyways, let's move on. What the hell? All right, Bram.
What did you get me earlier? You were like pushing my buttons about something earlier this year. I don't remember what it was. This is the great
it was
payback.
About the trade stuff. I was just laughing at your enthusiasm. Anyways, let's get to this. Daron Payne. People have asked about him too. He's fine. Like I wouldn't worry about him. I think he'll play. He went back in. He's okay. Like so, I wouldn't worry about him. The one you're not going to see is Jordan McGee, who has a hamstring injury and he's not going to play. Bobby Wagner did not practice today because of an ankle injury. I think there would be 1,000,000% chance that he plays on Saturday. I don't think. Yeah, yes. Yeah, for sure. He's right. I want to fight him. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. I was just surprised at the pushback on considering the Guardians a good organization.
Go O's, John. Go O's.
That's what if you at least put up a Nationals thing.
Let's see. Let's get what do we got here? What's the extent of the Ertz injury? Do you know?
No, I don't. And we'll talk to him tomorrow, but I don't worry about him either. So there's some guys that come hell or high water, they're going to play. And if you're talking about Ertz and Wagner, but the funny thing is, Bram, with Ertz a couple weeks ago, we all thought initially it was the concussion stuff. It was his shoulders.
Yeah.
It was his shoulder that was bothering him more. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Here's some other synergy too, old school synergy stuff, which I think is just really cool. So the last time Washington reached the NFC Championship game, they played Detroit. So that's pretty wild. And then the all-time synergy, of course, would be, the last time Washington went to the Super Bowl, they played the Bills. And it is very, very, very possible. Like Buffalo's at home this weekend. I know they're an underdog, which I'm actually surprised by, but it's very, very, very possible that they're going to be in the Super Bowl again. That would be something if it was Washington Buffalo. Yeah. And
the other thing too, again, because it's the first year of this, it's still kind of like a little bit surreal, but they just know how to win, and they play, they talk about the winning time moments all the time, and they know how to get things done when it matters. And there's a lot of value in that. And it's funny because, again, the belief with number 5 is high, and that gives everybody belief. The defense knows it doesn't have to be perfect, because if you give 5 a chance, he can get it done. But I think when you build that belief, you get to a point like, why not? Why not? Like, they should believe that they can win that game. And here, the other thing too, Bram, is one thing I like what they do. Dan Quinn does it. They embrace the situation. They're playing in the Silverdome. Like Dan, I don't know, it was Nikki or somebody asked Dan Quinn today about like those late game finishes. Like, basically, does it mess with you, right? Or how is it to take all those? He's like, he loves it. And like, he embraces that. Jayden Daniels embraces that. When you have the people who have the most in charge or the most say in it, whatever, and they're embracing it, like, I just think that filters down. Everybody's like, yeah, enjoy that, right? But they embrace playing in Detroit in a raucous atmosphere. Like, it's going to be loud, but like, who doesn't want that? I think they do a good job.
This atmosphere is going to be incredible. Like it really is. Like, go look at the ticket prices to get into this place. This atmosphere is going to be incredible. You know, they didn't have the NFC Championship game a year ago. They had to play it out in San Francisco. They're dying for it there. It's going to be a really incredible atmosphere. And I think, you know, this probably, it's safe to say they're going to have to weather the storm early on this one. This is the all-time, like, those guys are going to be shot out of a cannon. They're going to be as rested as you can be because they've had a week off. They've probably got a couple tricks up their sleeve. They're going to have a crowd that's ready to blow the top off the place. So they got to weather the storm, and hopefully they will. But when everything settles in, I trust this team. I trust them to handle the time management, handle the clock. And when it comes down to this quarterback, no stage is too big for him. That is clearly obvious. And he made so many plays a week ago and has made so many plays down the stretch of the season, throughout the course of the season. I entirely trust him if given the opportunity to give the team a chance to win. Yeah,
for sure. And that's the thing. Like I said, you look at the Lions offense, it's a lot of fun to watch. I do think Ben Johnson's a fantastic play caller and all that. But their defense, if you hit it right, you can get them. And, you know, Daniel said the Niners, that he was right. They played the Lions week 17, had a lot of success on offense. Do you think Quinn would call Kyle? I don't think necessarily that would happen. You know, I think Adam Peters might. I mean, some of those guys might. Yeah. I mean, you could, I'm sure, listen, I would reach out and pick their brain on a certain couple things. But your offense is your offense, and their offense is really good. But yeah, I mean, guys talk a lot, and I'm sure, you know, I mean, Cliff is very close to Sean McVay. I mean, maybe they've swapped some notes and stuff. I don't know I don't know that the Rams played them this year. I don't remember. I think they did, actually, didn't they?
The Rams did that was week 1.
Yeah, that's right. So that's for long ago. But yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. But I think the way this team is going, I would feel the Lions clearly are the favorite. And as Quinn said, like, all you have to do is be better on that day. You don't have to play them 10 times. So, like, if they played 10 times, who do you think would win more? Well, the Lions would probably, right? But they're not going to win every time. So, yeah, you don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean,
this Jayden Daniels guy really doesn't like to lose. So I don't know about that, actually.
That's what I'm saying. Well, no, but I mean, listen, they're 15-2 for a reason. Like, they're really good. Right. But you don't have to win. You have to win once.
Yeah.
That's it.
They broke Sam Darnold 2 weeks ago. I mean,
for sure.
They broke him.
It cost them money.
A lot. Yeah. Like, that guy did not recover from that. He's a week later, he was the same dude who just got punched in the face 50 times by those guys. So, I think, like, the pathway is similar. Can we keep their offense off the field as much as possible? Can we control the clock? Can we catch a couple of breaks? You know, like, I thought there was a real good opportunity against Tampa Bay to get a turnover or two, mainly because Tampa Bay did that. Baker had tied Kirk for the most interceptions. He had a lot of fumbles. He hadn't lost any of them, but he had a lot of fumbles. We got lucky. We got one. I figured, I figured we would be able to, get one here or there. This team kind of doesn't do that. They don't really turn the ball over very much. Goff is very good with the ball. What's he got for the season? 12 interceptions for the season, but they had one game, not only like Washington, they had one game. 5 of their 15 turnovers are in one game. That happened against Houston, one that they won. Not unlike what Washington did with Philadelphia. 5 turnovers. They had a 5 turnover game that they won against the Texans. We had the 5 turnover game that we won against Philadelphia. So that's 10 turnovers in the other 16 games. Like, this is not Tampa Bay in that way. So I do think that they're just going to have, I think it's a very similar path. They got to keep that offense off the field. It's just got too many weapons. They're working at too high of a function. If you get into a track meet with them, I think you're asking for trouble in the end. So hopefully we'll be able to, kind of slow things down, muck it up a little bit, have a first half like we did in Tampa, just get to the second half in a very close game. And all of a sudden, I think it's all up for grabs.
Oh, for sure. And I think that, like I said, the scary thing for Detroit is if it's a 1-score game and Washington gets the ball late, you're going to pucker up a little bit because depending, especially how that game is going, because he does special things. And it's funny because last thing from me too, on the way to the game last week, I was talking to Sam Fortier, and we're kind of going over the game and like what you expect and all that. And you kind of list the things like, Tampa Bay's offense, this, and this. And I'm like, but you have number 5. And guys like that just do special things in these moments. And that's what I always come back to now. Does it mean they'll win? No, but it doesn't mean they can win. Hell yes. So I think there's a lot. I'm going to be digging into all that stuff the next 2 days and getting ready for this, Bram. And I know you are too. So you got any final thoughts here?
I probably shouldn't say this because I haven't watched a lot of Detroit yet, not in the way that I'm going to watch them the rest of the week to get ready to play them. But I do think Washington's going to run the ball relatively effectively against them. Like, I think it's going to be different than what they've had the last few weeks. I do feel like the running game, I know it probably didn't look it last week. I thought B-Rob looked a little closer to the B-Rob I'm accustomed to when he's running the ball. Eckler, I thought, would have a big impact in the Tampa Bay game. He did. I have a feeling that they're going to run the ball a little bit better here. And this is where those injuries up front for Detroit may come into play a little bit, where Washington gets back to being maybe not the great run team they were early in the season, but a little bit more of the effective run team that gets them ahead of the sticks, gets them in these second and third and third and shorts, whatever. And if that's what ends up happening, I trust 5 to get 2 yards if a play breaks down. And so that's the pathway to me. Can they run the ball the way they did earlier in the season against a team that is marginalized up front? If they can do that, then I think they have a chance to shorten the game. And if they shorten the game, they clearly can win.
Yep. Nope. Just takes one day where you're really good and they have that opportunity. And like I said, the one thing I've learned about this team is I think that togetherness really, really matters. And it's something we've talked about all year. And I think it's a big part of their success. There's a belief, there's a togetherness. And I don't think that they're looking at this like, oh, like it may be that after this game, we say, hey, you know what? They lost, but they had this great year. I don't think they're looking at it like, this is icing on the cake. I think they're looking at it like, hey, we're here. Let's do something. And they feel like they can do something, and they should, because they're playing pretty well right now. So why wouldn't you think that? So anyways, unless you have something else to annoy me with, then I'm ready to cut it out here.
Oh, we're having fun here, John. Come on, this is a joyride. Don't get so upset. We're having fun here. You see, everybody's feeling the pressure. You know what it is? Everybody in the world's paying attention to us for the first time, and we're getting used to it too. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the extra attention. Frankly, you seem a little nervous energy over there, John.
No, nervous. I'm tired. Energy. I'm just tired. Listen, man, the 8 o'clock night games followed by 7 a.m. plane flight, it's not ideal for good rest. So
I mean, it's crazy. Like it's been weird. This is a weird year. Like the other day I got a text, they're like, I'm watching Morning Joe and they're playing your call. And I'm like, Morning Joe?
Oh, wow.
How is that on that?
I have
like, great.
I have people that I went to high school with who text me after these games that are like, this is unreal. And they're like,
yes.
It's like, it's not just people here like this quarterback, this team. And this is the other thing I was talking about someone at the facility today. Like they went from highly unlikable for a few years, for a while, to one of the most likable teams in the NFL overnight. Yes. But I'm telling you, like, I have a friend that like this one, she's one of my closest friends. And like, I get texts from her now after all these games. And she's like, are you having fun? And you're like, it's just, but that's what has happened here. And it's really, I've never, ever gotten those. So it's really kind of funny, and it's enjoyable. Like I said, I hope people are really not taking this year for granted and taking it as like, this has been a hell of a start to something that could be a lot of fun.
I agree.
For however the foreseeable future. So
I believe this is the beginning. I believe we're at the beginning of a story, and I think we're heading down a path where I think this is going to be, hopefully with some luck and not a ton of injuries and those type of things that derail seasons. I think we're in a spot where Detroit is like, we're Detroit from 2 years ago. We've got the right makeup, the right, basic roster. We have a lot of room to grow. We got the right people in charge. We got the right karma around the team now. We got the right organizational structure. Yes. And I do think that there's a possibility this team's going to be good for a while. And this year is going to go down in my professional career as my favorite by far, bar none. This has just been so much fun to be a part of it. And I've been, I'm very thankful to the team for doing the things that they did, because they've just made this such an incredible ride to be a part of.
Oh, listen, man. I mean, I'm a reporter. Like, I would say the same thing. This has been the most fun, period. It's not even like I used to say 2012, but this is not even close. And also because like the end of that year and what happened subsequently, it just kind of, fizzled away. I don't think this is that. I think this is absolutely the start of something, because with Dan Snyder, I never, ever, ever thought that they could ever sustain success under him, because you just knew. But with this group, yes, this is not the end of a chapter of a book. This is the beginning of it. So
Yes.
That's what I think people can look forward to. And you never know what the future holds. So you want to do what you can when you can, but why not? So there you go, Bram.
I mean,
all right.
The funny part is, like, the last thing I'll say about it, I do think like this is the beginning of, we're kind of the Detroit thing. Well, if they go win it now, it's more like we're the Chiefs. So that's really what we're looking. Because remember, Pat Mahomes came on the scene and it happened fast. So let's see.
Well, listen, or like I even thought about the Joe Burrow, and when he took the Bengals to the Super Bowl was it? I don't think he was a rookie though. Was he a rookie?
No, his rookie year he got hurt.
Right.
Remember?
That's right. He got hurt here.
Yeah.
So, but in his, I think it was the next year they took him to the Super Bowl. So
he did.
And I mean, special guys do special things, and you just can't put things past you can't limit their possibilities, because they do things that we just don't. You can't always explain. Like, people keep trying to get Jayden Daniels to say, "Why are you so cool in those situations?" Like, I don't know, because this is how I am.
That's what they ask me too. Why are you so cool in these situations? And I go, I don't know, John.
Yeah. Like I said, we need to work on your emotion. Maybe some more fist pumps. I will say this. I'm very happy for you. And my wife tells me this all the time. Like, she's happy that you're getting this attention as well. But
we're having a blast doing it. There's a lot of work that goes in. I mean, from the years past when people weren't paying attention to us. It's funny. I sound like the team, but like, the process for me to do these games has gone unchanged, whether they're 4-13 or 13-5. Like, it doesn't getting ready to do the games doesn't that doesn't change. But obviously, the attention for what we're doing is, I don't know how to put it. I think the right way to put it is it's really appreciated, because we put a lot into it and we're putting our heart and soul into it. And obviously, and that it's being well received and getting the attention it's getting is really a blessing. I really appreciate that. We really do.
Winning is better for when, even for me, like, more people are going to read your stuff consistently when the team is good, period. And so like you, even last year, they're 4-12. I'm watching the game again the next day if they lose, because I still want to learn something. It's harder to do that because, the games don't matter, but my job is to learn, and it's to go and find out answers to things going on. Even if they're going to get fired, whatever. I still want to do that because it's what I'm used to. It's what I like, and it's what you do. And it's like, you don't change your habits when they're good. You just continue your habits. And when you do that, you get the attention you do. Right. So that's how I always, but it's a lot easier to do that, to go back and okay, because, if I'm looking at the stuff, I may not talk about it as much, but I still want to know it. But now you can talk about it and people want to hear it. People want to read it. And so it's just more. And again, I'm getting WJR in Detroit, a news station, calling me to go on the air, because it's just different and it's fun. So enjoy it. And I'm glad people are enjoying it. So anyways, folks, that's going to be a wrap. And that's it. I'll be back on Thursday with another show. I'm hoping to have a former Redskin player on who has some ties to the Lions, talk about that game. We'll see if I can get that lined up. If not, we'll have something else. But I'll be back on Thursday with another episode. And then Friday, I'll have the 5 things I think getting you ready for the Lions game, and also the Gold members private Zoom Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern time. Join me there. Talk to you next time.